Hi YouTubers, thank you so much for watching this channel. My name is Kevin and you're watching The Royal We. And in this video, I want to talk to you about a very difficult situation to deal with. And that is going no contact from a narcissistically abusive individual who just won't seem to leave you alone, who just won't allow you to move on with your life. I know how difficult this can be. I know how frustrating and intimidating it can be. And it can seem like there is no way to escape the situation. But I assure you that there is, and we're going to talk about that in this video. I want to let you know that I still deal with this today. After years of going no contact with my wife's family, I still have times in which I just feel like they won't leave me alone. And it can be very frustrating. So let's first talk about how it gets this way. Let's talk about what the narcissistically abusive individual is doing and why they're doing it. Well, we all know that narcissistically abusive people feel very entitled. Whatever your relationship is, whether you're married or your best friends, or in my case, your family, they use that relationship as a platform to stand on to force themselves into a position in your life. Why do they do this? Well, it doesn't take a psychologist to realize that narcissistic individuals have severe issues with acceptance. They have obviously lived a life of rejection. From early on, rejected by their mommy, their daddy, everybody, whatever. And they have reached a point in their life where they feel like the only way to be in a relationship is to force themselves into a position within a relationship with somebody else. That's what they've done with you. They have used your relationship as a platform to force themselves into a position in your life and make you feel like you can't get out of it. In their twisted up mind, they're like, I got you in a relationship with me and you can't abandon me. It's sad, I know, but you know what? It's none of your business. It's none of my business. That is their issue that they need healing from. So now let's talk about you and me and what we can do about it, because that's what we want to know. Well, understand that part of the devaluing process that the narcissistic individual puts you through, and the devaluing process includes all the name calling, when they call you names and they curse at you and they criticize you and they cut you down, all this stuff is going on, and at the same time they're mixing in this brainwashing nonsense that leads you to believe that you have to deal with it. You have to put up with it. I remember time and time again when my wife's family would hurl their cursing insults at me, and I would stand up and say, hey, that's not cool. One of the responses I would get was, hey, you married into this family. Like they were saying, hey man, this is you have to deal with us now. You married this, right? And it really starts to brainwash you. I started to get a little brainwashed, I have to admit. I'm like, wow, I guess I do have to deal with this. But I thank God that I was able to come to terms within myself. I was able to rationalize and reason with myself and say, no. And this is normal, guys, because each and every one of us have a certain amount of pride. You better have a certain amount of pride, because this pride is going to keep you from getting abused in this life. And it's not even pride as much as it is just self-love. Okay? So allow self-love to take you out of the situation. Don't be threatened by it. The narcissistic individuals, again, they want to force you into a position where they cannot be abandoned by you. And what's going to happen when you do go no contact and you do manage to step out of the relationship, especially if it's early on in the devaluing phase, where the narcissistic individuals are devaluing you and trying to chop you down, right? You're going to cause a narcissistic injury. I did this with my wife's family. I made a video about the narcissistic injury I caused my wife's family. You can check it out below. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because the response I received from separating myself from them and separating my family from theirs, the response I received is a perfect example of what narcissistically abusive people do to make you feel like you can't leave. In the response letter I received, one of the individuals basically told me, hey, you married my sister, so I'm going to be a part of your life, in a way, and there's really nothing you can do about it. That's basically what the narcissistic injury letter I received said. Kind of threatening. When I got the letter, I felt kind of threatened, but it's a perfect example of what they do. They're basically asserting their position in my life, saying, we are now a part of your life, Kevin. Nothing you can do about it. So there is something you can do about it. What do you do about it? Well, the first thing that you have to do is understand that you are a sovereign individual with sovereign rights that nobody can take away. You have your own will. You don't have to let anybody tell you what kind of relationship you need to be in or what to do. And what you're going to realize is that all their nonsense is all empty threats anyways. They don't act on it. They can't. They can sit there all day long and tell you things like, well, you married into the family, or you did this, or you did that. But you know what? If you ignore it and move on, what are they going to do? They're going to come and drag you. You know, when I decided to step away from my wife's family, I stopped going to the events. I stopped going to the parties. They didn't do anything. What can they do about it? They're going to come and pick me up and drag me there? I don't think so. So it's just empty threats. You have to realize that. It's in hopes that they can brainwash you into believing that you have nowhere to go. The hope is that you will start to believe that you need to be in a relationship with them. They're banking on that so that you do not abandon them. Okay? So that's the very first thing that you need to realize. Don't buy into that. Okay? The second part that's going to have an effect on them leaving you alone is actually your responsibility in this. It's very easy to stay engaged with narcissistically abusive people in our life. And when you stay engaged, you leave doors wide open for them to come in and out with a lot of their nonsense. Let me go ahead and paint this image for you, okay? It's kind of like you late at night walking down this dark neighborhood and you come across a bully and a thug who want to start problems with you. You're going to do whatever you can to get the heck out of there, to protect yourself and leave. And if you're smart, you're not going to go to that area of town at night again, right? Right. Well, you have to apply that same principle to your narcissistic abuser in your life. The only difference between the narcissistic abuser in your life and the thug and the bully in the street is that the narcissistically abusive individual has fooled you and has lured you into a relationship with them. That's the only difference. But once that mask falls, you see the narcissistic individual as the bully and the thug that they really are, right? And so now you have to respond to that. You got to let go of what you thought the relationship was, and you have to look at what's directly in front of you and what you're dealing with. And you have to back out of that. You have to get away from that situation. You have to go no contact, and you have to close the doors. This is what going no contact is all about. It's closing doors that give them access to you. Stop engaging with them. Now, it's really easy in this culture, in this day and age that we live, where we have social media platforms and all kinds of stuff that make it super easy to spy on people and check up on people and all this stuff. And this is an area where I felt like my wife's family wouldn't leave me alone. After going no contact, I would constantly see them on my Facebook feed, making comments to me, poking and prodding and this stuff and being inappropriate. And I would get so frustrated, and I would respond. Well, what I was doing was engaging with them. I've gotten to this place in life where I've had to come to an agreement with my wife, she agrees with me, that I just cannot engage with them. When they come around on my social media, making comments or even liking my stuff, because in all honesty, it doesn't matter. At some point when the narcissistic individual even likes your stuff or makes good comments, it's like you see right through it and it disgusts you. So you just ignore it. You have to ignore it all. Ignore their bad comments, ignore their good comments. Just don't engage with them whatsoever. Don't get into the mentality of, well, this is my Facebook page and who are they to come onto my Facebook page and blah, blah, blah. That's what I did. And I used to engage with them. This is mine and blah, 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 blah. No. You know, I realized that was my rage. It was my anger. The reality is that it's a public platform, and I have to realize that even if I delete them, I'm still on a public platform. They can see my comments through sharing photos with my wife, because my wife is still in contact with all of them, right? It's the family she came from. So I get that. They're going to have access to a lot of my comments through that channel. So I have to reach this point where I have to just be okay with not engaging. I'm starting to be able to see now that I have a huge role. I have a huge part in them leaving me alone, if you know what I mean. I hope this makes sense, guys. I would love to answer any of your questions. Thank you for watching. Contact me if you have any questions right there. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Bye.